This is my discussion post for Sparta this week. So, the first question is over Xenophon and Tyrtaeus and whether or not they show the same Sparta. Xenophon, I think, shows kind of the same Sparta as Tyrtaeus. It's hard to tell because Xenophon has a lot more information than the other, and so it was hard to find some things that were in common, but they do have a couple. For example, they both have an emphasis in youth and the importance of what you do while you're young. For Tyrtaeus, he talked about a lot of like, you have to be in battle while you're young and get that honor while you're young and everything. Whereas Xenophon was more talking about how the youth are treated and how they get to the level of being able to be a real full citizen, I suppose, or in some cases. In some cases, they could only hold certain areas and everything. Then also both of them had an emphasis on bravery and how cowardice is something that's just like the worst thing possible in this culture. Shown in multiple ways. In war specifically was a good way that both of them showed it because Tyrtaeus talks a lot about war and everything in his little poem. So yeah. So when it comes to the second question, what is the main composition of the Spartan Mirage and why is it called a mirage? So when I was reading that little segment, I think the main composition of a Spartan Mirage is that they're warriors, some of the best warriors, that they have emphasis of equality more so than some other people, and also that they have a good way of doing things. Like, their government is good. Like, it has everything that one might need out of a culture, and also it's considered, like, as a lofty ideal of it, So the reason it's called a mirage and not a portrait is because a lot of times it's kind of lived up in our heads when in reality it wasn't that great, I guess. Because although you might think it's like a good philosophical way of life, as it's stated in Plato's Republic, it's kind of similar. It has a lot of like choice taken away from people, and it has a lot of problems within itself. It's very brutal, and the longer things go on and the worse they treat their people as they're like trying to figure that out and everything. It's just it's not kind government, I guess. When it comes to equality, women aren't really treated as equal as people seem to think that they are. Because they still can't vote and they still can't hold office and things like that. So they're not really like full citizens. They might have a little bit more than they used to, but that doesn't make them full citizens. And then also the emphasis on warriors and stuff. That actually is true for Sparta, definitely. But I think there's been a glorification of that rather than just saying that, like, I'm sure to them it was just something that everyone did, not to say that it isn't, like, something unbelievably honorable that everyone does, but also everyone does it. And so to them it was probably less, like, interesting or less of an ideal to reach rather than just being something they do. So, yeah. And then also, why is Sparta a source of inspiration today? I think the reason that it's such an inspiration today is because a lot of our countries have been through tons of wars, especially America. And especially America loves to go through wars, loves to create that same honor around it and everything. So I think when it comes to Sparta, it's easy for American culture, at least, to kind of see themselves in it and to romanticize this idea of war and glory, when in reality, war can be super grotesque and, hard on its people and everything. It's overall, I just think it's really easy for people to remember a certain way of thinking or remember a certain city in a sort of romanticized version of itself rather than remembering it for what it truly was. A lot of times in media and stuff, it's made out to be an absolutely glorious version of the rest of Greece, but it's not necessarily shown to have the sort of grotesque things that I was reading about in these textbooks, like being whipped as a right to becoming a man and stuff like that. Usually that is overlooked or even just kind of like glossed over as, well, they just happen to be militaristic, so that's why they do that or whatever. And so I think a lot of times we just kind of downplay the bad so that we can live up the good. And that's the reason it continuously is a part of our own ideals of honor and everything when it comes to war. So, yeah.